Guys, if you're familiar with the NAR settlement and you've seen the headlines, I definitely want you to pay attention because, you know, the headlines don't always give you the truth. And I've written a summary here just so you guys know exactly what happened and what's going on. And then I actually have the documentations that I'm going to review with you so you know exactly how it's going to go in written law here within Arizona. Okay, so here we go. The recent NAR settlement addresses critical changes in the real estate industry's commission practices, which have been the subject of multiple class action lawsuits. These lawsuits challenged how commissions for buyers agents are handled, that sellers were being unfairly required to pay these commissions as part of the listing agreement without full transparency to the buyers, okay? So that's just a piece of it. The settlement was a result of a class action lawsuit filed by the Missouri home sellers in 2019. The lawsuit alleged that the NAR's compensation rules violated antitrust laws by inflating commission prices and reducing competition. The NAR denied any wrongdoing, but agreed to settle the lawsuit and making changes to the industry. The NAR agreed to pay $418 million to the people who have sold homes in the recent years, okay? That is a lot of money, all right? And that is a big thing that's actually going towards, you know, the National Association of Realtors, which I am a part of and every real estate agent here is a part of, okay? So some big changes actually went on, and a lot of it had to do with, you know, sellers thinking that there wasn't transparency on how the commissions were actually paid. Within Arizona, you know, and this is just me saying this out personally, when we do our listing presentation and when we do our listing agreement, it says specifically on there, buyer, broker, listing agent, what the commission is going to be paid, and then what the total commission is going to be paid out. And me personally, even do a settlement sheet where if this is what our expectation is, what we're going to sell the price for, this is what all the fees are, this is what the commissions are, this is what your end net is. So it's always fully transparent on the way that I do business, but apparently in a lot of other states, it definitely wasn't the case there. And that was the main reason for a lot of what this lawsuit actually was. One of the big things too is that when we go on the MLS, us as agents, we were able to see exactly what the commissions were actually being paid for that actual house or for that actual property or for that actual investment. So when we go in and we're searching on the MLS to find a perfect house for our client, it would say the buyer's agent is going to be paid 3%, 2.75%, 2.5%, 2%, all of those things. And a lot of that felt, you know, as far as being on the listing side or the sellers, that a lot of buyer's agents were steering because based off of the commission. So one of the things that happened now is that agents are not allowed to see, it's taken off the MLS, what the commissions are actually paid, you know, for a lot of these houses, making sure that it's going to be a level and fair playing field for a lot of what these buyers are actually being sent, and there's not going to be any steering or directing, you know, of what this traffic is going to be if you're a buyer's agent trying to show houses, the sellers, and all the listings that are on the market. Now I can get into the weeds more about the NAR settlement and all the details, but if you're a seller, you know, I want to be in your shoes and say, Josh, what does this mean to me? How is this going to affect my sale? What is the listing appointment going to be? And how much commission do I actually have to pay to a listing agent or a buyer's agent? Or if I do have to pay zero, is that an option for me now too? First document that I want to go over is going to be page 2 of the actual listing agreement here within the state of Arizona, okay? And I just highlighted some of them here too. I'll actually put these on there as PDFs so you can actually look at them and view them yourself. But the first one I want to show you is line number 6, the total commission of the full purchase price, or there's going to be a dollar amount. So as an example, if the listing agent comes up to you and says, we're going to charge, you know, 6%, you know, for the total sale of this actual property. So as an example, what should you expect to see? So if me as a listing agent, you know, we're going to charge anywhere from 2.5% to 3% to do all of our marketing, all of our videos, all of our ads, everything that we're going to do for the actual property itself, photos, videos, all the things is going to be on line 46 of what the listing agent is actually going to charge you for their services. On line 48 here, it says unrepresented buyer that walks into the property. Now this can happen from a sign call, it can happen from an open house. They're gonna charge a fee to actually represent the unrepresented buyer, and what that actual percentage is there could be as well. That could be an additional 2.5% or 3%, and that would actually be the total. It'd be, if it's 3% on the listing side, 3% for an unrepresented buyer, then the total would be 6%. But if that doesn't happen and you actually have a buyer broker, line 50 literally says this: owner authorizes listing broker to communicate an offer of compensation to the prospective buyer and broker in the amount of blank percentage. And that's there where you can put 2.5%, 3%, 0%, or of the full purchase price and dollar amount of whatever you want to choose if it's going to be a flat dollar amount. Now, this is where it says the transparency, and this is where it's fully fully legible to where you're gonna see this is where you have the ability to negotiate. Now, one thing that I want you to know, even as like a seller, if a buyer is coming into your property, and think about this, okay? Buyers are paying the highest prices they've seen in the last 20 years. They're paying the highest interest rates they've seen in the last 20 years. And they've seen the best and worst market in the last 4 years, literally having to pay, over asking price, having to compete with cash offers, doing no appraisals, inspections, and then boom, they get hit with interest rates. And then boom, here we are, in 2024, they still haven't had the opportunity to buy. Even though we've seen some actual decreases with the interest rates, it's still not enough for a lot of these people to actually jump off of the fence. So what I mean by that, a lot of these buyers are actually overwhelmed. So if you guys really want to actually make a sale on this house, there's probably gonna be some type of compensation that's going to be had for these actual buyer's agents, because for a buyer to actually pay another buyer's agent's commission on top of everything that they're experiencing, I'm gonna talk to you over here because you're gonna understand why that actually is going to make sense. The next document that I want you to see is going to be the buyer broker exclusive employment agreement, okay? And this is something specifically that I wanna show you on page 2. You see this part right here? It says notice, okay? I'm gonna read it directly to you. If buyer decides they do not wish to view listings unless the seller or seller's broker has offered adequate compensation to the broker, the buyer must make that instruction to broker in writing. So what does that mean to you as a seller? Meaning that if the seller is not offering a compensation, the buyer is instructing that buyer's agent to not show that property. Okay, guys, think about that. If you are a seller in this market, which has been one of the toughest markets in the last 20 years, like we explained, and now you're gonna completely cut yourself out from actually being seen and actually showing the property and getting footsteps and getting eyeballs and getting bodies into your home because you're not offering a commission, what do you think that's going to do to your sale? What do you think that's gonna do to your purchase price if you're gonna be extended days on market because you're cutting yourself out from the largest buyer pool? A majority of these buyers are gonna be first-time home buyers, maybe leveling up, and getting their second home, maybe third home. And on top of putting their down payment on, they'd have to pay a commission for their buyer's agent. That's something that you need to think about and maybe wanna have considerations if you do want to decide to pay 0 commissions or a smaller commission, or just go back to the way that things were and whatever is within your area, offering them the 2%, 2.5%, or 3% to actually entice a buyer to put an offer on that home and get your sale done like that. In addition to what it says on the listing agreement, there's also another document called the compensation agreement between brokers, or we call it here within the real estate industry within Arizona, we call it the CAB. And on here, it says it again in black and white. Right here in the compensation area, right here, where you can check for sale, there's a percentage of the full purchase price, or you can choose a dollar amount, or it says other, and it literally says right here, and I'm gonna read it out straight to you on line 13. Seller broker agrees to compensate buyer broker in accordance to the terms and conditions below. And that's where you choose a sale for the percentage or the actual dollar amount. Compensation to the buyer broker is earned and payable when buyer and any entity owned or controlled by buyer closes escrow on the purchase or exchange of the premises, and buyer broker represents buyer in such transactions as indicated in the purchase contract, okay? And this is what happens. Seller broker signs here, buyer broker signs here. This is additional transparency that you're going to have here when it comes to the listing agreement and it comes to the compensation that's actually going to be paid. The last document that I want to show you, especially for your seller, and this is a lot of documents that we have to do now because there's definitely some redundancy, so we have the transparency that everybody wanted before because they said it wasn't available here within the United States or within real estate agents or across NAR and all the best practices, okay? This is called a seller's compensation addendum, okay? So what this means is when a buyer makes an offer on your property, we're not only going to get the purchase contract, we're also going to get a seller's compensation addendum in there. And this is where they're going to put in their commission that's going to be a part of that offer. Now, if you are already offering a commission of say 2.5% and they're requesting 2.5%, perfect, there it goes. If they're putting 3.5% and you are only, or 3% and you're only paying 2% on the listing agreement and the CAB over here, then that's where you have to let them know we are only offering 2%, and then additionally that 0.5% based off of their buyer broker agreement has to be paid out, from that buyer's actual client themselves. It doesn't have to come from you. You stick with your 2.5, that's where you want to stay, and that's where you will stay, unless there's something outside of the negotiation table that if this is really going to happen for them, this is going to be a deal breaker, we can have that conversation between listing agent and buyer's agent and make sure to get the deal done, okay? So guys, if you're looking to sell your property and you want a more in-depth explanation of this in person, my team and I are happy to meet with you at your property, not only go over your home value, how we can sell your home, how we can market your home, and get in front of a lot of people just based off of our marketing practices, but we like to be fully transparent. We go over every single document, not only the listing agreement, but all of these that you see here. We believe in empowering our clients. We believe in educating our clients because we want to make sure that we're doing a good job for you, and there's nothing that we will do in order to make sure that we deliver superior customer service here in the greater Phoenix area. So if you guys are looking to sell your home and you guys want some additional questions on how this actually works, please feel free to reach out to me. You have all my information in the description below. You can reach out to me at josh@joshzuniga.com. You can go to my website. Anything that we can do to be in front of you and stay in touch with you, we'd love to see you on the next video and love to connect. Take care.